Hey Gengar Gang, what is going on? My name is Ryan, this is the Analytic Gengar, and welcome to another video. In today's video, 10 reasons to invest in rare Pokemon cards, ? Why adding collectibles to your portfolio makes sense in 2020 and 2021, ? Well, long story short, friends, in today's PokeChat, we're going to be taking a look at this article from Entrepreneur, which will be linked down below. And we will be looking at the 10 reasons that this article lists for you to invest in rare Pokemon cards. Now, obviously, these articles do a great job of making things seem simple and otherwise mundane, but as many skilled collectors, buyers, sellers, and traders will tell you, the world of Pokemon card hobbyists is not a simple one. And so in today's video, we'll just take a look at this and, we'll go from there. So, like I said, the article will be down below, and let's take a look at Oliver Isaacs, the Entrepreneur Leadership Network VIP, and what he said will be the true benefits of investing in Pokemon cards. So first things first, obviously, as with any good article written for the general masses, there is a super brief description. So introduced in 96, less than 25 years later, some Pokemon cards have appreciated in value at over 10,000%. Yeah, sounds about right. Alongside the limited supply and extremely high demand, plenty of reasons. So here's where the article actually begins. First things first, the best cards are worth more money than you'd think. So he goes on to speak about Gary briefly, who, appeared on Pawn Stars, sold, $500,000 in Pokemon cards. I bet that guy on Pawn Stars thinks he's nuts now because, those cards have gone up in value immensely over time. And honestly, Rick from Pawn Stars, the guy who's actually in the show, would have made quite a bit of money holding onto those cards for a couple of years. This is kind of what kicked it off, but again, earlier in 2020 or earlier, this quarter, Logan Paul also did his own set of investing and buying and, kind of showing off all the different money. So though the average price of Pokemon cards is much lower, there are many rare, highly collectible cards worth upwards of $200,000. A Shadowless First Edition Charizard is worth anywhere from $150,000 to $200,000. Ironically, this price may even be out of date at the point this video is being made, so that's good. Even more, common cards are worth several $1,000s, depending on condition. For example, Charizard Holo cards have been known to fetch over 5 to 10 grand. And despite the fact that there are over 10,000 of them in circulation. Now, the one thing I will say about point number one is that he neglects to tell everyone that these cards are graded and makes it sound as though you can pull cards out of packs and then turn around and sell it for $233,000. He makes no mention of the fact that some of these cards are graded. This is the only time he says it, and he bought a PSA graded 10 for a whopping $150K. But then ironically, literally the next sentence makes no mention that a PSA 9 Pikachu Illustrator card sold for $233,000. So that's kind of awkward. Number two, true collectibles are guaranteed to increase in value. Now, I always stay away from the word guaranteed. I've had many conversations with many different people. And the one thing we always laugh about is that back in like 2015, 2016, there was always a lot of hesitation around Pokemon cards. There was this huge argument and perhaps even sentiment that there was just a warehouse or like an airplane hangar filled with like first edition base set boxes and mint condition Rayquaza Gold Stars and you name it, the most rare stuff. There was just a airplane hangar full of this stuff, and someone was going to find it one day and it was all going to come crashing down, and Pokemon cards were going to be worth a penny each. Now, if you talk to someone like SM Pratt, Scott always says that it doesn't really matter if anything crashes today. Now, there will be a lot of scalpers and flippers who will probably shit themselves and immediately bow out because they're going to lose so much money. But if you're in it for the long run, what's going to end up happening is the same individuals who bid $1 are going to get outbid by someone bidding $2, $3, $4. And the way that the story is going to play out is that the prices are just going to keep going up. People are going to outbid each other, and before you know it, the prices will return to near normal. So even if the market were to crash tomorrow, there are many of us out here who are long-term collectors who don't care because we don't have quote-unquote money in the game. We're playing this for the long run, and whether it be because we love our collection or we have life goals we want to meet, we're not worried about what happens tomorrow. We're worried about 10, 15 years from now. I can see why this argument is being made, therefore, because it's guaranteed to increase in value over time. And again, I really don't want to use the word guaranteed. I would say very highly likely. Now, the one thing he says is there's virtually no chance of a card that's out of print decreasing in value over time. I would agree with that statement. It's not a guarantee, but I can't really see a realistic situation playing out where that happens. Again, how many years now have people been hunting for that airplane hanger? They haven't found it because there's virtually no chance it exists. And therefore, it seems like more and more collectibles are becoming a very stable and responsible alternative investment opportunity. There's a global market. Yeah, it is. And I've recently had an argument or two with people who would argue like, oh, Pokemon cards can't be considered towards your net worth. I disagree. I can list something on eBay and probably break the internet in about 7 days time, 10 days if I want to really flex. And so one thing I will say is that Pokemon cards, even though they are an alternative investment, are and should be considered a liquid or marketable asset in the same way that a bank account or a savings account or a US Treasury bond is considered a liquid asset because, if I wanted to tomorrow, I could probably turn around and sell some of this stuff. Don't get me wrong. That Metagross PSA 10 that I got from Celestial Storm probably isn't the most liquid asset, but you bet that my Deoxys box or my Team Rocket Returns box are going to fetch a serious premium if I put them on an auction. Not that I ever would, but you get the idea. They can be liquid or liquidated incredibly quickly, incredibly efficiently, and produce a wicked amount of money. And in that sense, they behave literally exactly the same way that a stock, a security, a market bond, a treasury bond, a futures option, a futures or an option would behave. And so for that reason, it should be treated very similarly to cash. It's easy to find a price out there for a specific card. Yeah, you have everything. Well, that's awkward, but okay, PokemonPrice.com even offer graphs visualizing the history of online transactions pertaining to specific cards. In addition to that, he does fail to mention this, but, PSA has their website that maintains anything for graded Pokemon cards. eBay's search history and then just turning off the sold function will get you some raw card grades. So I do think there are a lot more options out there, but I guess that's what he means when he says it's easy. The whole point is that, yeah, there's, tons of different options available out there for you. I do wish he would have kind of put a few more there, though. There are plenty of collectors out there willing to pay for rare cards. Yes, moving along, JK. The market is not only wide-reaching, but also home to thousands of dedicated collectors. Yes, but there has also been an influx of new sort of hungry entrepreneurial types. So I guess this point has even become more exaggerated because now there's two different types of collectors out there. There are the newer ones and the older ones. And both, assuming the card is rare enough, will probably be chasing after you for a chance to purchase your items. You can get to know the market quickly. Alright, investing in Pokemon cards doesn't involve a lot of in-depth research or specialist knowledge. Disagreed. Unlike the stock market, real estate, or bond investments, Pokemon card trading is straightforward and relatively simple. Here is where I really firmly and strongly disagree. You need to know a lot about the different types of cards out there, about the history of the TCG, about the history of different eras within the TCG, and finally but not least, the way certain cards have behaved in the recent past. Here's a good example of this. A few years ago, Gold Star, Espeon, and Umbreon cards were selling for 20 grand each as a PSA 10. And it was really awkward because it was the highest sold price for a Espeon Gold Star card at the time. Those are the cards that come out of the Pop Series packs, by the way. And what was really funny was that for a time they dwarfed Charizard and Rayquaza. Then, magically, Charizard had the lead for a little while. Then Rayquaza took the lead and has since maintained the lead. What's awkward is that you need to know that history, because if you're going to go out there now and try to buy any of those cards, you need to realize the history behind them. So yeah, I disagree with this, because like the stock market, real estate, or bond investments, you need to know price trends, you need to know deltas as well as alphas, and you probably need to realize that it's not straightforward and that you need to establish a good history on high-end collectibles before you have the ability to go ahead and purchase them. More importantly, when you're making investments, probably the biggest and most critical aspect of this is making sure things are legit. So yeah, you need to know the market, and that's going to involve a lot of in-depth research. For example, if you want to invest in a first edition base set box, you're going to need to do a lot of in-depth research and specialist knowledge, probably from that one TCA video, in order to understand the difference between first edition base, shadowless first edition, just regular shadowless unlimited print, then the regular base run, then you have all the different print runs from across the world. So yeah, specialist knowledge is required, especially at the higher ends of the market. So this one I definitely disagree with. You can get to know more superficial aspects of the market quickly. For example, you can look at the ADP alt art cards on eBay and you can say, oh wow, this card's been selling for $50. I should buy one at $45. Okay, fine. But a lot more research is required at the higher ends, and I really do feel like that could be a very misleading statement all the way around. It's not just going to take a small amount of research to understand what to look out for. It's not just individual rare cards, box sets are also increasing. Yeah, again, I've kind of gone over why that's really just a dumb statement to make, but in the grand scheme of things, having a good understanding of the hobby can help you to determine what is a good deal or what is a bad deal, even if you don't have sale prices. For example, if you know something is incredibly rare and highly sought after, even though there hasn't been a recent sale, you might be more comfortable accepting a premium for the card or purchasing with a premium on the card, because you realize there are only X amount of these in the world and there likely will never be any more submitted and graded at that grade. Therefore, I can pay a premium comfortably and be in a position to defend this purchase in the future when this card inevitably gets sought after by someone interested in purchasing a card. Detailed information on each card is easily available. This much I agree with. The internet and a variety of different social media tools have allowed people to really understand it really well. So whether you want to jump on YouTube and watch one of us do our thing and sort of tell you about it, or you want to run over to Instagram and follow one of those pages, or you want to just watch some other random guy on Twitch. There's a lot of ways to find out a lot of information. In addition to this, you have a variety of different boards, you have Facebook, you have networks of people that are willing to help you out. So it's actually pretty easy. Pokemon cards are easy to store. Now let's go ahead and call like 5 of the biggest Pokemon sellers in the world and ask them about that. They are not going to agree with this, and this is one of those statements that is probably because this person has never collected a Pokemon card a day in their life. But let's see this. Valuable Pokemon cards do need to be stored properly to prevent fraying and accidental damage, but it takes minimum effort and cost to keep your collection safe. Purpose-designed storage solutions are easily available in the form of pockets and binders, therefore exceedingly simple to keep your cards safe and organized. Now here's where this kind of gives me a headache. Earlier, this guy's talking about PSA 10 Charizards. There is no binder for PSA cards. You keep PSA 10s in a gun safe, hidden in a nuclear bunker. You don't keep them in a binder, so that makes no sense. Fine. Binders are fine, but I don't think you're going to keep a first edition base set Charizard raw in a binder either. You're probably going to, have it in some special drill down case, or you're going to have it at least in a card saver on its way to getting graded. Again, I don't see a reason why anyone would put stuff in pockets or binders or anything like that. The other thing is that This completely neglects the idea of insurance and security, two major components to any big collector out there. First things first, if you're a buyer or a seller, you don't want your name associated with your real-life personal address. So the idea is immediately go get a P.O. box. You get a P.O. box probably in a different zip code. And so that immediately is a $130 purchase right off the bat. I think a year subscription at the time I'm making this video for a USPS Postal Service box is approximately $130. So that's the first thing you need to do to keep yourself safe, keep your home safe, and keep the crazy people away. Then on top of that, maybe you keep your collection in a bank deposit box or a safety deposit box. That's going to be an additional cost. So if you need a large one at your local Chase or your local Citibank, that's going to be an additional cost that you have to cover as well. PWCC offers a different type of scenario where you mail everything in and they keep it for you. And then there's also those people who might install a safety room in their own house. They might convert a room into a more, serious sort of environment where they can keep their cards and their collection safe. Again, booster boxes do not come or fit into pockets or binders. They will need to be individually cased. Some people have figured out more simple solutions, but other people, like myself, like to purchase those really nice acrylic display cases and then wrap them in bubble wrap and then deposit them in my safety deposit box. And then, of course, on top of all of that, there is the need for insurance if you are that type of person. There was recently a Facebook post in one of the groups where someone's house burned down and they lost everything. Their family is safe, thank goodness, but they lost their entire collection to the fire. And they didn't have insurance. And again, insurance is one of those things where, because this is such a niche market, you'll have to search far and wide for an insurance provider who will offer you coverage, and then you will then need to consider how much you're willing to pay. Some people don't want to cover the entire cost of their collection because their collection's continuously growing. They might just say, hey, give me a flat $200,000 in coverage, and then that might be like $1,000 in extra, costs every year. Long story short, Pokemon cards are easy to store? No, wrong. Go away. Stop. You're misleading people. Finally but not least, number 10. Oh joy. You don't need to know the franchise. This is another one of those things where I'm gonna, go in. Serious investors are sometimes put off by the seemingly childish nature of Pokemon cards and the idea they would need to... Alright, fine. In fact, neither of these assumptions hold true. The franchise was aimed primarily at teenagers. There are plenty of adult enthusiasts and a community of serious collectors, as well as professional Pokemon card players. It is no different than collecting stamps. If anything, the former makes more sense because Pokemon cards were intended to be collected and traded. Knowledge of the franchise certainly helps if you want your Pokemon investments to turn into a hobby. However, it is no means necessary, especially because there are plenty of resources online to identify and assess every card. Okay, fine. There are resources online, but that is only half of the story. The other half of the story has to deal with the fact that the TCG has been very influenced by the video games as well as the television show as well as the related movies. Case in point, Charizard was a fan favorite Pokemon from the anime, and then it became a fan favorite Pokemon card, and the two synergized off each other. Charizard was a great card to pull if you were a TCG player, and if you watched your Saturday morning cartoons, you loved watching Charizard literally roast Ash and literally not listen to him. Now, you would be outside your comfort area if you didn't know that. So, do you need to watch every single episode of the franchise? No. But I will say this. Having a good understanding of the franchise, the history, and the shared sort of connections that they have together can help you to better assess not only what cards are currently popular, such as Rayquaza, Gold Star card, which redefined the TCG, but also the Charizard First Edition card and basically any Charizard card ever because it's such a fan favorite Pokemon. But it can also help you predict what cards will be valuable in the future. For example, Greninja was voted most popular Pokemon. You wouldn't know that if you weren't a fan, and guess what? I have a feeling that if anyone was smart, they'd start hoarding Greninja cards, because Greninja is going to be a popular Pokemon going into the future, meaning any of its various iterations as a TCG card will also probably go up in value. Again, something you wouldn't know if you didn't know the franchise. So, with that said, friends, that is today's episode of 10 reasons to invest in rare Pokemon cards. This article is, you know what, it's good. I wouldn't go as far as to tell you it's completely invalid, because each of the points made does hold some water as a individual point. However, as you can see, there are several other major considerations to keep in mind when you're playing with the idea of becoming invested in Pokemon cards. It's never as simple as these articles make it out to be, especially when it comes to situations like number 8, easy storage. You know, I know people who have rooms filled with cards, sealed product, and it's not easy to store it. And then, you know, no individual single card hold value like that. So, long story short, obviously there are pretty good reasons to invest in these cards, but there are far more nuances to it, and as you get into the hobby and you become more invested, you do begin to learn and realize and grow as not only a hobbyist but also as a collector. As with anything, any investment comes with risk, and of course with any investment comes a learning curve. So those are also two major considerations to take into mind. And with that said, friends, that will conclude our discussion for today. As always, I appreciate your viewership. You could be anywhere on YouTube right now, but you chose to hang out with me for a little bit, and I always appreciate that. If you haven't already, please consider subscribing to the channel. It's the best way to help me grow as a content creator, helps show some support to the channel other than leaving a like, which you should also do. And if you want, leave a comment down below. As always, I love to engage and interact with you guys down below in the comments, so definitely feel free to do that. Other than that, friends, thanks again for checking out today's video. Remember to vagrantly insure your Pokemon cards for far much more than they're worth, because, hey, Pokemon cards are easy to store, right? And other than that, friends, I'll talk to you guys real soon. Peace.